Okay, hello everybody. As we talked about here, we see it happen all the time where entrepreneurs, business owners, they don't have anyone to answer to. You are your own boss. You decided at an early stage in your life that you were not going to answer to anybody. And in a lot of cases, a lot of times, that is a double edged sword because as soon as we get a taste of that freedom, maybe we start to fall off a little bit. So, the session today, you don't need more hours, you need this 15-minute weekly habit. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, it's because most entrepreneurs think they have a time problem. I've never met an entrepreneur that thought that there was just plenty of time in the day and they have all the time to do it. They always assume that they just don't have enough slots on their calendar and they're overwhelmed with too many things to do. And the reality is that they have a priority problem, not a time problem. And the habit that we're going to talk about today will help you just really zero in and focus on what really matters to you and your business. So, first, a little background, my story. You can see here, let's see if I could zoom out just a tiny bit. So, my story here. So, I have two incredibly conflicting photos here. On the left, you see a beautiful single family home. I think this was in Rancho or Upland, and I helped this couple buy this home. So on half of the day, I'm wearing a suit and a tie. I'm showing homes. I feel really good about myself. On the right side, I owned a gym at the same time, and I loved that as well. And I think that's the trick is you may think one was worse or better than the other when the truth was I enjoyed feeling burnt out. And it is the strangest thing I know. People have connected burnout and overwhelm to success. And that's something that we need to fix first of all. But really, my story from a 30,000 foot view probably looked pretty sweet. I had a real estate business or a team. I was teaching tech on the real estate side as well. And I had a gym and I was competing in CrossFit at the same time. So I think from the outside looking in, it probably looked like everything was glittering and it was beautiful. And in actuality, I was running out of time and I knew that I was running out of time. I would feel exhausted at the end of the day, and which, by the way, could be a great thing if you accomplish what you set out to accomplish that day. And I think that is the kicker. Most entrepreneurs, like myself, realized that they were not actually moving the needle. It was as if they were running on a hamster wheel, exhausted, fatigued, burnt out. And then they'd look up and they hadn't actually made any progress on what they wanted to accomplish. So I reached a moment. I reached a moment where I said that if I kept on this path, I was going to A, have a mental breakdown, or B, something was just going to have to give. I was going to have to give something up. So, this is what the problem looks like for a lot of different people. Mine was very specific, but a lot of people, it might just look a little different. So, if you have endless to do lists, I actually used to love making to do lists. I thought that it was such a satisfying thing to check off, items 1 through 4, and then only have items, 5, 6 left for the day. But I started realizing that it literally was endless. I would just keep adding things. If you're working 50 plus hours with little progress, we see that all the time. Again, if you're an employee, you're working 40 hours, guaranteed, right? You sign up for 40 hours, you get 40 hours. Maybe there's overtime, maybe there's a day off here or there, but you can basically bank on that 40-hour work week. When you are an entrepreneur, you don't have that. You are working 50 plus hours. I think 50 is the low end for a lot of people. And then most important projects that are going to take the most amount of time, ironically enough, never get done, even if they are the most important to somebody's business. And then, of course, you just end up with burnout from chasing the urgent over the important. So, what happened? Well, I had a mindset shift, and I would love for all entrepreneurs to have this mindset shift. Um, you have to stop asking, how can I get more done? It isn't a matter of getting 1 through 50 done. You don't want to just get more done. Um, so you have to start asking yourself a different question. you have to start asking yourself what must get done. And we actually have people do the one thing question, which is what is the one thing that if I do today, and by doing so, all other things will become useless or easier, or I think it's easier or not needed at all. Okay. And here it is. Your goal isn't more hours, it's better priorities. And here's the catch. Here's the big catch. If you are self employed, very rarely, if ever, do you have a superior, if you will? Do you have somebody that you answer to? So you are the judge, jury, and executioner, and that is a really scary place to be. Um, so we're going to talk about this 15-minute habit, and I always like to ask it in a different way because this is going to give you a really clear three-step plan here. But the question that I always want people to ask themselves is how often do you write out and look at and envision your goal? The answer for most people is they probably did it January 1st and then they never looked at it again. Maybe somewhere through the halfway part of the year where they're having a panic attack, they remember what the goal was. But here is the 15-minute habit. You are going to spend 15 minutes once a week. I prefer to do this Sunday evening because it's the next day is the start of my week. You're going to identify your one goal for the week. Now, for a lot of people, they think macro, they think huge, they think, what is my one goal for the whole year? And that's a great thing to do, by the way. I think you should do that. But for this specific person, this person that is already on the burnout, what I would want you to do is you're going to identify your one goal for the week. So if you can get this one big goal done for the week, all other things will become easier or unnecessary. So now how do we do that? You're going to write down what that one goal for the week is, and then you're going to identify the three biggest things that will help you achieve it. And then you're going to break those into clear non-negotiable actions. So let's give you just a really quick example. Let's say you want to lose 2 pounds this week, but just by eating healthy, by the way. I don't mean starving yourself. So the three biggest moves that you're going to do is maybe one of those is you're going to meal prep in advance, you're not going to drink, and you're going to sleep more. Those are the three biggest moves that would help you accomplish that 2 pound loss. And I'm just going off the cuff here, guys. Now, how would you break those into non-negotiable actions? Well, if the number one priority was food, I'm going to meal prep. Number two is no drinking. I'm going to probably say no to happy hours this week specifically. And then the third one was sleep more. So maybe I set a timer, an alarm for 9 p.m., and that tells me I have 15 minutes to get into bed. So if you accomplish those actions, which help with those three big moves, you will accomplish that one goal. And you plan, and here's the kicker, guys, you plan this out the night before. You don't think of this as you go. Now, for a lot of people, this might get a little overwhelmed. So what does this do? This actually helps you cut through the overwhelm that you're probably experiencing. You're going to stop getting distracted by low value work. A great quote by Dr. Benjamin Hardy is people get pulled away from their big goal by a clear path to less important goals, meaning you are much easier distracted by a really clear low hanging fruit than by the one big thing that you should be accomplishing. And then, of course, this creates space for health, family, and rest. I mean, this is a better way to operate day by day. And then it keeps you consistent even when life gets chaotic. That week that I just planned for on Sunday night, I can guarantee you there's going to be something that goes haywire. Something's going to go wrong during that week. But because I planned out my week the night before it started, it doesn't matter. I have my three priorities that I'm going to do so that I can accomplish that one weekly goal. And then, by the way, this goal should tie to your big goal. So for example, if my goal is to lose 20 pounds this year, then that 2 pound loss this week makes perfect sense. But what we see a lot happen is people will have one big goal and then all the little goals along the way have no connection to that one big goal. So Here's the big step. Number one is you're gonna try this for 2 weeks. Now, here's what I'm asking for, guys. This is not huge. I'm asking for 2 Sunday nights where you sit down for 15 minutes and you write out these goals, okay? Once a week, one goal, by the way. Already, I'm gonna catch some of you guys. Don't write out 15 goals for the week, one goal for the week, and then the three big movers that are gonna help with that, okay? You will make more progress in these 2 weeks than you probably did in the last 2 months, okay? And we're gonna talk about some bonus solutions later, but here's my big ask. We're talking about how easy it is to silo yourself, to be your own boss, your own judge, your own jury, your own executioner. No one's holding you accountable. No one's pulling you towards your big goal. No one's asking you, hey, is this goal in alignment with your 5-year vision? If you don't have anybody that's helping you with that, you may need a coach. For me, in my story, if we go all the way back to my story here, it wasn't until I stepped out of the way, I hired a coach that then held me accountable. And I'll tell you what, they helped me simplify a lot of things. So you don't need more hours. You need this 15-minute weekly habit in order to solve this problem. So I hope this was helpful. If it didn't resonate with you, but maybe you thought of somebody that it did resonate with or it will resonate with, please do me a favor. Like, share, subscribe, send this to them because this could save somebody a lot of struggle. So make it a great day, win the day, and we will see you on our next video.